Okay, so I'm trying to remember. Okay, you got your orders for Vietnam. Where at Fort Monmouth?
I was at Fort Monmouth. It was 1967, and I had finished the career course. First of all, go back to the beginning. We had been stationed in Taiwan from 1964 to 66. 66, I came home to Fort Monmouth. We came home to Fort Monmouth, and I went to career course there, which was I don't know how many months. It was several months, and so after the career course, I got orders for Vietnam, which I knew it was gonna happen anyway because it was time. That was then the end of '66, beginning of '67. Probably the beginning of '67, and finally the orders came. Not without some problems, I might add, because Mom and I bought a house while we were there, and we were closing on the house about supposed to be 6 weeks after I was in Vietnam, and so I had called Department of Army assignment officers to see if he could delay me for a month or two, so we could be there for the house and help Mom move and so forth. And he gave me the song and dance about no, they were waiting, needed me desperately in Vietnam, and so he couldn't hold off for me. So meanwhile, we did everything we could to come to a closing earlier, and it just wasn't working. And so I called again, and this time, praise the Lord, why a different assignment officer, I think the other one had been reassigned, had left, and a new one was in, and I told him the same sob story, and he said, I'll see what I can do. And so, he delayed until after I had time to close. So in the meantime, the orders came, and they authorized me 600 pounds of hold baggage to be shipped to my next location, which was Vietnam. And so I looked at that and I said, 600 pounds. I think a refrigerator weighs less than that, and it's going to be awful hot over there. So I think I'll see if I can get a refrigerator. And so I bought a refrigerator, used. I don't know, paid maybe $75 for it or something like that. And carted it into transportation people in Fort Monmouth. And I took it in and told them what I wanted shipped, and they said, that's pretty strange. How come you're authorized to ship a refrigerator to Vietnam? And I showed them my orders, and they said, sure enough, you are. Fortunately, they thought it was very funny, actually. And so fortunately, they didn't go higher up to question the orders, because it would have been easy for them to get the orders recut. They just went ahead and shipped it. So
did it go on a plane, or how did it get there?
Oh, I'm sure it went by ship. There wasn't no hurry about it from their perspective. Although it got there awful fast, I have to admit to you. So I don't have a clue how it was shipped. All I know is it was there when I got there. So I reported into Vietnam. There was what we called a repo depot. That's a replacement depot for troops, and you get there first, and they send you to somewhere to see where you're actually going to be assigned. And the 160th group, which the organization I was assigned to, was at well, I can't think of the name. It's near Bien Hoa Airport, but I can't think of the name. Long Binh. It was up at Long Binh. So I reported into the 160th group. And you have to go around with your orders and papers and everything, and talk to people, and they tell you who you're going to be assigned to, and gave you all kinds of briefings and things like that. And I came to the S4, which is the supply guy, and reported in, and I think it was a major at the desk there. And so I came in to him and told him my name, and he said, Baldwin. I said, just a minute. And he looked at his desk for some papers, and he came out, and he was glaring at me. He said, Baldwin, I want you to know that if it was up to me, I would send you to the furthest location in the boonies of Vietnam I could possibly do that. But you are assigned to the 69th Signal Battalion, which is down in Saigon, so I'm going to have to send you there.
Was that the major that said that to you?
Yeah,
or the,
no,
okay.
That was the major. And so I said, yes, sir, and I saluted and left. And I got down to... I got down to 69 Signal Battalion, and there was another captain that was in charge of the S2 down there, and S4, I'm sorry, S4 down there, and he couldn't have cared less what came in, and so we were all contemporaries. So anyway, I got down there, and at that time,
In Saigon.
in Saigon, yeah, at that time, the 69 Signal Battalion was like a pimple on the edge of boy, the names have all gone from it. Ton Son Air Base. So we were actually on the air base, but we were.
You're in a building.
Oh, we're in a winter compound.
Okay.
We're in a compound of 30 or 40 Quonset huts. Maybe not that many. Maybe only 20 or 30. But a whole bunch of
Quonset huts.
A bunch of Quonset huts, and a building that was the actual headquarters for the battalion. It had the battalion commander and the S2, S3, S1, I think, in it. And then on the compound were 2 companies. My company, I was assigned as a headquarters company commander, and then there was the signal support company. Anyway, I finally my refrigerator got there. Actually, it was pretty near waiting for me because it came in very, very quickly. Refrigerator got there, worked great.
Okay, now what's normal weight amount? Because normally you don't get 600 pounds.
Yes, normally at that time you did get 600 pounds hold baggie. But that was just going from, like if I was stationed in Fort Monmouth and got stationed out at Fort Leavenworth, you get 600 pounds of hold baggage, which is the things like uniforms and things that you might need immediately when you got there, not things that you could wait for your household goods to get there. Because in addition to that, 600 pounds, you were authorized, when you normally moved, you were authorized household goods, which depending on your rank, it was how much you got. As I recall, probably we were authorized maybe 10.
So this was a big oops somebody made for you to get 600 pounds worth of stuff.
Well, yeah, it probably was normal for the guy whoever cut the orders, because most people wouldn't think. I don't think most people would think of shipping a refrigerator on their hold baggage. But whatever that goof was, I got my refrigerator in Vietnam, and as far as I know,
Were you like the only person with a refrigerator?
As far as I know, I didn't know any of my contemporaries. Now, I'm sure that the battalion commander or guys like that probably had a refrigerator, but I didn't know any contemporary of mine in Vietnam at the time that had a refrigerator. And I did get harassed a little, but even the battalion commander didn't. He knew, I must have known that I had it, but he didn't think anything of it, didn't say anything. And so I had it the whole time I was there, and used it the whole time, and had it in my room. Now, the rooms we had at that time, because there were no barracks for the officers there in the battalion compound, they actually had rented the Army leased a 2 or 3 story building, compound, in a compound, a 2 or 3 story.
In Saigon.
Right. Well, yeah, but bear in mind that at that time, Ton Son Nhut is right in Saigon. I mean, it's right on the edge. Mm-hmm. So it was probably a couple miles to where the officers were billeted, and that we called that the Cayman Hotel. And so I had, but the rooms were not air conditioned there or anything else. So so it was not plush. It was not a hotel per se in that regard. It was just you had a bed and a bathroom, and usually a cellmate, a guy that's staying someone with you to a room, and I couldn't even remember the guy that was my cellmate. I couldn't even remember what his name is. I think he was one of the satellite, assigned to one of the satellite groups that was associated with our battalion. As company commander for H&H, company, headquarters company in the Army at that time anyway, you got all the ash and trash that they didn't know what to do with was assigned to headquarters company. My boss told me that at that time I had the biggest company that is, the biggest company in the whole Army, 550 some odd people assigned to the headquarters company, but they weren't all assigned in Saigon. Some of them were up at Long Binh. Those were the repair folks, radio repair, and repair folks for microwave and anything else that might. And they were also the calibration people because you had to have all your equipment checked periodically, your communications equipment checked to make sure they were calibrated properly, and they had to be recalibrated. I don't remember how much, once a quarter or once a month or once every 6 months. I can't remember what all that stuff was, but I had a warrant officer and they all were stationed up at Long Binh, but they belonged to me. I mean, when I say belong, they were assigned to me, I should say. The combat photographers were assigned to me, and I had I can't remember how many of them, but the Quonset huts, there were probably 10 or 12 people.
Who built the Quonset huts? The Army?
They were there. I don't know whether the Army had built them or whether they'd been built for the Arvin Army or something. They were all there, and they were old when we got there, so I don't know. Maybe, for all I know, they may have been French, because the French were in charge of I don't know. Anyway, the French were there before the U.S. was, and then the French got beat, and then the U.S. felt like they should take up the baton and allow ourselves to take the blame for getting beat and so forth. So that was fun. Anyway, got my refrigerator, kept it there for the whole time.
You were there for 1 year, right?
1 year. Now, Mom and I had long decided that we were no matter what else was there was a problem, we were going to be together on our anniversary, the 4th of July. So I was assigned to leave there finally about I don't know, 6th or 7th or 8th of July. I flew out of San Francisco to go to Vietnam. So we knew we were going to miss the next year. We were not going to be able to be together on our anniversary for the 4th of July on 1968 because you were there for a year. So apropos of nothing to do with the refrigerator, it was about the 2nd of July, and I was rushing to get all my paperwork done and all my efficiency reports written up on troops and so forth. And I was in the office one Saturday morning, and I got a call from our personnel. They said, "We just got a call from the Repel Depot up in Long Binh that if you could get up there before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it was, you can leave today." I said, "I'll be up there in an hour," and it was in the morning. So I grabbed I didn't grab very much, by the way. I told my boss, who was the battalion commander, I told him I was leaving. He didn't make any fuss about it because he knew I was going to leave the following week anyway. And I told everyone goodbye, everyone that I saw.
How'd you sell your refrigerator so quick?
Well, come to that. I had known I was leaving, so one of the guys there had wanted to buy it from me, so I told him he could have it for $175, and he paid me $175 for it, and so I probably made a profit on that of about $100, and so I got up to Long Binh, the Repel Depot, and sure enough, flew out that afternoon and got home before the 4th.
I thought you went to Hawaii from there.
No. Hawaii was R&R.
Isn't that where you went right after Nam? Did you meet Mom in Hawaii?
No. While you're staying in Vietnam, you're authorized. At that time we're authorized one Vietnam. It was I think a week. Might have been as much as 10 days, but I think it was a week. And so Mom and I had talked, and we decided that having to come back after R&R was going to be twice as hard. So we delayed our R&R until I'd been there 9 months. That way, when I came back, I only had 3 months left to do, instead of taking it at 6 months time when most people took it, because then if they took it at 6 months, but they had to wait another 6 months before they could go home. So anyway, that was our thought process. So we waited until we had been there for 9 months. Till I'd been there for 9 months before we took R&R. Took R&R in Hawaii. Your mother is as I'm sure you know, a very determined and unusual woman. When I had been stationed in Korea before we were married, she got a phone call to me all the way up in Camp Casey, where I couldn't even hardly call. I could if I really stuck with it, but it was difficult for me to even call Seoul from Camp Casey. But she got a phone call all the way from Albany, New York, all the way up to my billets in Camp Casey, and that was at Quonset Hut too, by the way. So she got a phone call up there for that. When we hit R&R in Honolulu, why you got the plant, you got the flights that came into a certain area, and everything was fenced off, and it was a good way from the place you got off the airplane to wherever it was that we were able to see our loved one. Well, I came to this gate that was a long ways away from everyone else was, and the only person there was your mom waiting for me, and all the other folks were way up here, and the gate was locked, and folks were keeping them up there, and I have no idea to this day how your mom got to where she was, but she was the first one there. And the same thing happened when my tour was over and came back to, or something similar, and came back to the States. We were offloaded up in San Francisco. I think it was San Francisco Airport. I don't remember. I remember something like that. And we were taken to this special hut that was where we were, I guess, supposed to go through customs or something, because I don't even remember going through a customs area, but we must have gotten through something. Anyway, I came outside, and here's your mom waiting by the door outside of this hut. No, none of the other folks had wives or girlfriends or anything standing there to come out of this hut. They were all over a ways back, but your mom was there. I don't know who she had to bribe or what she had to do to get there, but somehow she managed there. So.
Now, what did you do for that year in your Nam? Just communication stuff type through the.
Well, the first let me see, 6 months. No, it wasn't the first 6 months. The first 2 or 3 months, I babysat all this group of folks that I was telling you about, the Ash and Trace folks. I was headquarters company commander. Mm-hmm. Now, when I said babysit, I was being sarcastic because it wasn't. But I really had a lot of folks. Even technically, even the battalion commander was assigned to my company for administrative purposes, and all of his staff, all of the headquarters people, all the oddball people that belong to are associated with other people. The chaplain, for example, belonged to me, and he was a Presbyterian chaplain, and I never did care much for him because he insisted on serving wine at communion and would not serve grape juice. And I had some talks to him about it, and he still said, nope, I wouldn't do it. So anyway, lived with that, and then this group of people that I told you that were up in Long Bend, that were the repair people for radios and all that stuff. They had, as I said, belonged to me, and so total of as I said, 550 some odd people were assigned to my group, but I never saw that many.
It goes.
But I had to give them I had to give them or arrange to be given to them what we called a morale talk every Thursday evening, I think it was, when you didn't have something going on specifically and defending your compound or something, and so that was always fun. But I got the chaplain often to come in and speak on that. And first sergeant and I in between us, so while we, and so you walk into this long building with probably 150 or 200 chairs in it, something like that, and as a company commander, you'd walk in and the first sergeant would call everyone to attention, everyone would pop up, and it was crowded, so there must have been at least 200, 250 people there at the time, every week. But fortunately,